the phantom train. There's a strip of track out in the middle of nowhere that the locals all know to avoid. You can see it winding through the thick forest that lines the outer edge of town, a place where no trains have run for decades. But there are stories, whispers of a phantom train that still rolls through the night, crashing through the mist with an eerie glow and leaving no evidence of its passing except the scent of burning coal and the echo of its ghostly whistle. The forest around those tracks stands silent, as if every creature that once called it home had long since learned to steer clear. My name is Jack, and until a few weeks ago, I would have laughed off these tales as old wives' lore. I work for the railway, managing track maintenance in this very region, and I'd never seen anything even close to supernatural. Ghost stories don't mix well with men of hard steel and cold rails. But now, well, I don't laugh anymore. It was late October, and I'd been assigned to inspect that old stretch of track, the very one everyone swears is cursed. The company had plans to revive it, you see, to turn that forgotten line into a heritage route for tourists. They didn't care about ghost stories. They cared about profit. And as for me, I was there to do my job, nothing more. But as the night wore on and my crew dwindled to just me, I started to feel an uneasy, prickling sensation at the back of my neck. The night was thick with fog, the kind that swallows up light and sound alike. My flashlight barely cut through the mist, its narrow beam slicing into the darkness like a dull knife. I'd lost sight of the road hours ago, and with every step, the sounds of civilization grew fainter, replaced by an eerie, suffocating silence. It was only me and the ancient, rusted track stretching endlessly into the darkness. The first sign that something was wrong was the whistle. It was faint at first, no more than a whisper carried on the cold October breeze. But it grew louder and clearer until it sounded close, far too close for comfort. I scanned the tracks with my flashlight, expecting to see an approaching train, but there was nothing there. Just the fog and the silence, thicker now, as if it were waiting for something. Then, out of the mist, I saw a faint glow. A pair of headlights appeared, growing brighter and brighter as they raced down the track towards me. I stumbled backward, barely managing to throw myself off the tracks just as the ghostly locomotive came barreling past. It was a monstrous thing, its wheels screeching as they tore through the rusted rails. The train itself looked ancient, covered in rust and grime, and yet it moved with terrifying speed. I stared in horror as it passed, each car trailing ghostly shadows that seemed to reach out toward me. Through the fogged windows, I caught glimpses of faces, pale, gaunt, and staring straight ahead as if locked in some eternal journey. Their eyes were hollow, their mouths frozen in silent screams. And then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the train vanished into the fog, leaving nothing behind but the scent of burning coal and the faint echo of its whistle. I tried to tell myself that it was a hallucination, that my mind was playing tricks on me. But as I made my way back down the tracks, I found something that shattered any hope of rational explanation. A single piece of paper, yellowed and brittle, lying on the rail. I picked it up and shone my flashlight on it. It was a passenger ticket, dated October 13th, 1923. That was the date the phantom train was rumored to have crashed, killing everyone on board. I felt a chill run down my spine as I stuffed the ticket into my pocket and hurried back to the maintenance shed. That night, I barely slept, haunted by the memories of those hollow faces and that ghostly whistle. I didn't tell anyone about what I'd seen, not even my boss. But I knew I had to find out the truth about the Phantom Train. The next day, I went to the town library and dug through old newspaper archives. Sure enough, I found an article dated October 14th, 1923. It described a horrific train accident, a derailment that had claimed the lives of everyone on board. The article mentioned that the train had been on its way to a nearby town for a festival. But the strange part was that no bodies were ever recovered. It was as if they'd simply vanished into thin air. The weeks that followed were a blur. I kept seeing the train in my dreams, hearing that whistle echoing through the darkness. And every night, the ghostly faces pressed closer, their hollow eyes filled with a silent plea. They were trapped, doomed to ride that spectral train for all eternity. And they wanted me to join them. One night, unable to take it any longer, I decided to go back to the tracks. I told myself I'd just take a look, maybe snap a few pictures to prove to myself that it was all in my head. But as soon as I stepped onto the tracks, I felt a heavy, suffocating presence. The air grew cold, and the fog thickened until I could barely see my own hand in front of my face. And then there it was, the Phantom Train, roaring down the tracks, its headlights cutting through the fog like knives. This time, I didn't move. I couldn't. I was rooted to the spot, staring in horror as the train drew closer and closer. At the last second, I threw myself to the side, landing hard on the gravel as the train thundered past. But this time, it didn't vanish into the mist. It slowed down, grinding to a halt just a few feet away from me. The doors creaked open, and a wave of icy air washed over me. A shadowy figure stepped off the train, its face hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. It held out a hand, beckoning me forward. I knew deep down that if I took that hand, I'd never come back. I'd be trapped on that train forever, just like all those other lost souls. But I couldn't move. I felt myself drifting toward the figure, my body moving against my will. The last thing I remember is the cold, bony hand closing around mine, pulling me onto the train. When I woke up, I was lying on the tracks, my clothes covered in dirt and grime. The train was gone, but the memory of that ghostly figure lingered in my mind. And in my pocket, I found a new ticket dated October 13th, 2023, the date of my encounter with the Phantom Train. I tried to tell people about what had happened, but no one believed me. They all said it was just a dream, a hallucination brought on by exhaustion. But I know the truth. The Phantom Train is real, and it's still out there, roaming the tracks, searching for new passengers. Now, every time I hear a train whistle in the distance, I feel a chill run down my spine, because I know that one day it will come for me again, and this time I won't be able to escape.